This is my dog too. This is the first
Yeah,
appearance he's made.
he's a really nice guy as well.
He is. He's such a good boy. He likes to lay underneath the pine tree, and so he gets covered in sap and needles all
Nice.
the time. Yeah. What do you think? Mm, it's your fault.
Mm, well, no, it's not. I think he is
She's on your
fault.
side.
He has a little tiny
Aw,
face.
he does, and only three legs.
So nothing can be his fault. It's actually ableist of you to say that. Hmm.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, when, the one part of the house that he's not allowed on is my parents' bed, and that's where we found him yesterday, just laying
Um,
there like he belonged there. And he
mhm.
was pissed when I told him to get off.
Right. And
He's like, "Yeah, I'm a disabled old man. What,
like,
like, do
actually,
you
how dare
mind
you?
actually?" Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, does Luke have any thoughts about the acronym for today or
What do you think?
anything like that?
He's fascinating because he's not even, it's not no thoughts head empty for him. There's
Mhm.
there's critical thinking going on
He's,
back
I
there,
could
but
tell
it's
that was the face of like a philosopher, you know.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you got
He's
gears turning in that
philosophizing.
noggin.
Yeah,
He
for
doesn't
sure.
have any thoughts about this subject though. He doesn't care.
Oh,
I was thinking, I went and dug around in our drawer and I found this pen and I said, "Oh, fine, that's whatever, but it's not a Bic pen." And you'll never believe what I saw, like as I was closing the drawer,
next,
what rolled out.
the
This is
Big Pen.
the people's pen.
If Big Pen has 10 fans, I have one of them. If Big Pen has 0 fans, I am no longer on the
I'm
earth.
dead. Oh, hey, I had a dream about that hotel that we were in the other night.
Oh yeah?
The one that we were in
Not the one that we were in the other night, but the other night you had a dream of the hotel that we were in at some point.
in outside of Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. The one where the
Extremely
lightning
outside of
struck the
Vegas on the
elevator
other side of the other side of the
like
state.
a couple hours
Yeah.
outside of Vegas. But that's
Yeah.
the last city that
But
I
it's
remember driving through.
the state of Nevada is just like just outside of Vegas. Like so I
Yeah, that's
understand.
true.
Yeah, the one where the guy was like, you have to use the stairs because unfortunately the elevator was zapped.
I
Zapped
like
to extinction. It was so funny the way that he like he was like, I'm tired of giving this news to people, but for us, we had been driving for 78 hours that day. So we're like
we were in
we're like,
actual
this
hell too
is the
because we were in the
most
middle of this casino.
exciting news we could possibly have gotten. Yeah.
Yes. We said, "Pardon me, what happened to the elevator?" That it was zapped.
Yep.
$70,000 worth of circuitry gone. We were like frothing at
Unfortunately,
the mouth, our eyes
it's so
glowing.
funny. Unfortunately, the south elevator was zapped by lightning. He said zapped by lightning.
Yeah,
I'm like, dude, what a weirdo. Anyway, I love that
he's a
man.
freak. I love him.
I don't
He's
think he was a real
near and dear to
person,
my
so
heart. No,
that
I
helps.
think my theory is that he's a robot and that
Yeah.
his waist below the counter like was just a single pole.
Oh yeah, I like that. Like not quite that he was hovering because we're not advanced enough for that in Mesquite, Nevada. But yeah, he's like on he's on like one of those wheelie like coat hangers.
Yeah, exactly like that. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was picturing. He's a
Yeah.
little top heavy too. You gotta be careful.
Yeah. That's why he has to stay behind the desk. It's like stabilizing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, none of this happened in my dream. The dream
Oh.
was that the FBI was raiding the place and they found one of the buildings was just a false front
Uh-huh.
and they had like an illegal scrap yard behind there where they I don't know exactly what was illegal about it. I thought it looked like treasure and I wanted to go in.
Well,
And you
because it's a
said,
scrapyard.
"'Cause it's a scrap yard." Yeah,
What could that be
if
if not treasure? Yeah.
exactly. Uh, I love junk, I love treasure, all of the
Mhm.
above. It's all good for me.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I was not allowed in because I would have also gotten arrested. And so
Oh,
it was
because
a
it was illegal.
because it was illegal, yeah.
Boo,
And I
wait.
said, "But it shouldn't be illegal for me."
Yeah, I'm special. I have a three-legged dog. He only has three legs. Everything's loud.
Um, okay. I have two letters for STEM.
Okay,
Um, and they both have an exclamation point after them. Yeah, you
cool.
ready?
This is gonna be really exciting.
Ooh, I'm excited to tell you. It's super or supers and
It's a whole family of
trumpets.
supers.
Whole
Supers,
family of
trumpets.
supers.
So true because
Yeah.
our beloved boy, Michael, not Michael S. Microphone, the other beloved
Different.
boy, Michael.
Other.
They are both Italian.
That's Are they the same person? Have we ever seen them in the same room together?
Hmm.
We see you,
Suspiciously
Michael S.
no.
Microphone.
He
That's
can
why he was
do
so
he can do
exuberant about his praise.
everything. He's so talented. He's like, yes, I have a master's degree in software engineering or whatever. Yes, I have a successful YouTube channel. Yes, I do the cooking. Yes, I do the cleaning. Yes, I am the alter ego of Michael Giacchino, the acclaimed movie score composer.
Yeah. Oh, unless it's his father.
Yeah, could be his father.
Wow.
That's it's deep in his veins.
Yeah, this is like a Darth Vader situation, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
So we have supers,
super
trumpets.
trumpets.
I was gonna say exciting movie.
That's fun. We haven't used movie as the M for a while
A while. Yeah.
because we used it a lot at first. But then we were like, we can't do this for every single one. And then we just
That's
haven't done it
way
for a
too
while.
obvious. And then, yeah, here we are back at it again. It's no longer mathematics.
No.
Finally, we're at peace. It's movies.
Yeah, as it should be.
Because
Mhm.
mathematics is stressful. And movies can also be stressful, but not always. They don't
If you're
have to
watching them the way we watch them.
be. You're not allowed to blink the whole time. So it's actually
No.
really, really
Every
aggravating.
time I'm watching a movie with someone, I'm not watching the movie, I'm watching them. Did you get that? Do you remember from the beginning when they talked about this? Are
hmm
you getting this?
Like, have you ever
What do
heard
you
of
think about it?
foreshadowing? Stop it.
Because do you remember how this character said this about this character, but then they have to betray this? You remember that? Oh, you got it? Okay. Just making
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it would be funny if
Watching
it's a movie that you've seen many times and you still lean over and you're like, is that his dad? What's going on?
Wait, but who's this guy? Is that the main character? That's my favorite joke in The Office that I feel is underrated. It's,
Yeah.
when they're watching Glee at Gabe's apartment, and Phyllis leans over to Kelly and says, "Is that one Glee?" And Kelly just goes, "I
That's
don't
very
think I've
funny.
ever laughed." Do you hear the scream?
No.
Give me a moment.
Okay.
You know how Twitch streamers do the you know how Twitch streamers have the hold screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really fun if you could edit that in there at some
I
point.
can't
Let
afford
me
it.
just
You have to have 200K subscribers before you're allowed to get the hold screen on Twitch.
Oh,
I looked it
no.
up, it's the law.
Well, we're never gonna do anything illegal, and that's a promise from a real doctor you can trust. I'll be right
You,
back.
you look like a safari person.
We have
We have,
exciting movie.
yes, and supers and
Mhm.
trumpets. Woo!
Supers, trumpets, exciting movie. We can, start now if you'd like.
Okay,
Hi, everybody. Welcome once again to Women in STEM. Today we're discussing supers, trumpets. Excellent movie. Exciting movie?
both, really. So
Excellent,
exciting.
exciting movie
Yeah. Or
because we're
"Yay!
talking.
Movie!" That could work too.
Oh, that's true.
Mhm.
Mhm, mhm.
And the reason that all of these words work together in this way is that we are talking about The Incredibles, of course, the
Naturally.
movie.
You knew this was coming. We've had
Mhm.
people begging us for months, like, "When are you gonna do The Incredibles? Please, please, please."
"Please come to Brazil." And we're like, "Okay, geez, relax. We'll do it already. Get off
Yeah,
my
so
back."
here we are,
Yeah.
finally responding.
The long-awaited Incredibles episode that's probably gonna be uploaded in, like, November because of how I have 8 months of backlog to post. Today is our anniversary, did you know?
Of what?
When we met!
Today?
Yes, for first time.
You're right. I thought and it's because you said November. In my head, it's November right now.
You're like, "We didn't meet in November?"
I was like, "No, I was with Katie."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
happy
it's
anniversary,
not Women in STEM anniversary, but it's personally our anniversary.
Whitney and Olivia anniversary.
Yeah,
Happy day! I didn't get you a present.
rude.
Did you get me a present?
Um, it's still being processed. Yeah.
Well, anyway, The
So you've heard of The
Incredibles.
Incredibles?
I have actually, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm somewhat familiar with
Really?
it.
Name 3 facts about them.
You said once that if we were to ever, like, reenact a movie or just, like, start quoting it, that
Mhm.
either
From
one of us could
beginning to
do
end, we could do The Incredibles.
Chicken Run or The
Mhm,
Incredibles at the drop of a dime.
mhm,
It's, one of our very, very favorites, and for good reason. It's one of the best movies ever made. It's one of Pixar's finest
mhm. That's also
in
true.
terms of score, characterization, like, interesting topic,
Mhm,
subversion of tropes,
mhm.
everything. It
Everything.
scores an 11 across the board.
Mhm. Out of
Even the
10, by the way.
animation,
Mhm.
out of 10. Exactly,
Yeah,
thank
the
you for the
animation
clarification.
was very, like, ahead of its time, very innovative.
Yeah, revolutionary.
Mhm.
Looking at it now, it's not even that bad. There are a couple of, like, the background extras that are a little bit, like, puppety for what
Mhm.
we're used to, for
Right.
being 20 years ago and being like, even seeing Violet's hair today is still impressive to me. I'm like, "It's so shimmery."
Yeah. Like,
Or,
how
like,
did
the
they even
fabric
do
or their
this? Yeah.
bodies. It's incredible. It really is incredible. It's still visually stunning to watch today, and the
Mhm.
fact that they were able to achieve that with, like, just inventing their own technology and techniques, of
Yeah,
course it
it's
scores an
like
11.
the phrase, like, "Necessity is the mother of invention," like, actually never gets old and never becomes, like, not a true statement anymore, but I feel like I've seen it, like, so much in this world of, like, film animation where, like, The Incredibles, they're like, "Well, we need to do this, and we don't know how. I guess let's just invent the technology to be able to do it," and then they did that with Spider-Verse, and then they did it with Spider-Verse again.
Again.
Like, I'm pretty sure Puss in Boots 2, obviously, not
Yep.
the first one.
No one ever cares
Is,
about
like,
the
made
first
of
one.
Play-Doh. Yeah.
I don't think Antonio Banderas is even aware that he did that movie.
Yeah,
I think they might have drugged him for it.
he got his
But the
check.
second one? Yeah, the second one,
Mhm.
he's like, "You want me to do what? Is everyone hearing this? Sign me up,
Okay.
baby."
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, he was thrilled.
I'm sure. And we know
Mhm.
this on personal
Oh,
confidence,
Tony,
who was
he's
we
a
go way
he's a
back.
close friend.
Yeah.
Mhm, yeah.
How the
How did
hell
you
did you
score
swing
Tony
Antonio
Banderas?
Banderas? It's
Antonio
called money.
Banderas, even Tony Banderas. What's yours? $30? Oh gosh, anyway.
Oh, we'll have to talk about Shrek at some point.
Okay, might as well do it now. Shrek is a movie. We've all seen it.
That would be really funny if we told everyone we were talking about one movie, and then
We
it
get
wouldn't because
yeah,
we do that every week.
we do that every week.
It is just a phenomenal movie. What are some things that we were gonna talk about specifically? Because we've been bringing it up for, like, 3 weeks now, just
Yeah, that's
how much
true.
we wanna talk about The
We're
Incredibles.
like, "This is just like in The Incredibles." Yeah. Guy who's
Yeah.
only ever seen The Incredibles. Um, well, let's talk about trumpets! Exclamation point. We can start with music, baby. It's
I love it.
so fantastic. It's so fantastic. What's the name? Okay, there's a man, his name is Wayne Bergeron. As far as I know, he's not related to Tom Bergeron of America's Funniest Home Videos. But maybe.
I'm trying to
Because
recognize.
because of the thing of how everybody in Hollywood ends up being related to each other.
Yeah, like how Maya Hawke is not Tony Hawk,
Yeah,
Ethan
Ethan.
Hawke's
Yeah.
daughter.
Hmm.
On
And
top of
Uma
that,
Thurman.
and Uma Thurman.
Mhm.
I
If her
it's
name was Maya Thurman Hawk, it probably would still take you a minute to like register.
yeah.
Like, wait.
Of Uma Thurman fame?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's her
It's still
mom.
her mother.
That's so weird.
Ethan Hawke is her father.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, I mentioned the Bergeron mafia family because one of them is Wayne. And I'm pretty sure I'm not lying to you about this, but maybe I should check just in case. But anyway, that's the name of a trumpet player, I'm pretty sure. I am actually so afraid right now. Wayne Bergeron. Yes, okay, yeah.
There
He's
you
the
go. That
one.
could have been very embarrassing for you.
Yeah, I'm just like a name dropping a completely different person. Yeah, no.
Did you ever hear that
Wayne,
story about when that happened to Allison? She was playing like um catchphrase or something. I don't remember, but
oh
she
gosh.
she was trying to give the name of a celebrity.
Oh,
So she kept
that's
giving
just
the
not
first
her
name and was
game.
frustrating that no one was getting it. And then come to find out it was just the name of a distant relative that she'd seen on her like family history a couple weeks before. She was so she was so frustrated that no one was recognizing the name of this celebrity.
It was not a celebrity, it was like her great great
Celebrity.
grand uncle or something. Oh my gosh. No,
It's
that's
just
crazy funny. Anyway,
anyway.
Wayne Bergeron, I'm pretty sure isn't related to me at all. Might be related to Tom Bergeron, it's yet to be seen. Let me just read you off of waynebergeron.com/bio to tell you why I'm bringing him up. Wayne Bergeron is enjoying a career as one of the most sought after musicians in the world. Studio sessions, film dates, international touring, jazz concerts, guest appearances, and clinics keep him busy not only in his hometown of Los Angeles, but worldwide. Um, anyway, I mentioned this because he played with Maynard Ferguson. I'm sure you don't know who that is, but
I don't.
a prolific jazz composer and leader of a big band. Anyway, then after that, he he has worked on so many Disney movie soundtracks, including The Incredibles. So anytime you're listening to The Incredibles soundtrack and you hear like a trumpet that you're like, there's no way a person can physically play that high and that well. That's
And
impossible.
that's him.
It's Wayne. Yeah,
It's
my boy
of
Lil
course
Wayne
it's Wayne.
Bergeron. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And listen, I even knew this about him, but just because I looked him up because I was afraid that I didn't know this about him, I'm like blown
Mhm.
away by his like credits. This is like incredible.
Oh,
As
okay,
a
listen.
sideman, Bergeron's list of recording credits reads like a who's who in contemporary jazz and pop, running the stylistic gamut from Ray Charles to Green Day. Other names
Huh?
include Katy Perry, Beyonce, Barbara Streisand. Hello? The Jonas Brothers, Natalie Cole, Celine Dion. Like some of these I'm like not surprised by because they're like jazz artists. But then like My
Uh-huh.
Chemical Romance. Why is he played with My Chemical Romance? But also,
Like
why
with
not?
Gerard.
You know?
Yeah, the more the list goes on, the more I'm not surprised. Of like, yeah, sure.
You're like, sure, why
Why
not?
not then?
Yeah, exactly. Um, oh my goodness. Bergeron's featured trumpet solos can be heard in the motion pictures West Side Story 2021, La La Land, Sing, The Incredibles 1 and 2, obviously. Rocky Balboa, Secret Life of Pets 2, etc.,
Not the
etc.,
first one.
etc. The first one, they were like, how can we bring this from good to great? Somebody call Wayne. Anyway, what a
Brad Bird's
guy.
got him on speed dial.
Probably. It says he's worked on over 500 TV and motion picture soundtracks.
Oh my gosh.
So easily he's worked on anything Brad Bird has ever even heard of.
Plays 7 degrees of Wayne Bergeron.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody's gonna have 2 degrees. Like you can't get farther away than that. He's everywhere.
He's so close.
He played with Beyonce.
Amazing. Well, personal
Amazing.
shout out to Wayne,
Personal shout out
who
to
and I keep wanting to say
my
Wayne
friend
Gretzky.
Wayne. A personal shout out to my friend Wayne Gretzky, the famous trumpet player who trained under Maynard Ferguson and isn't known for anything else.
No. That would be pretty legendary though if it were the same guy. He
Yeah,
just kind of took
he
a slightly
literally can do
different
it
G
all.
name. Bergeron Gretzky.
Yeah. He
He's
like
like, I
panicked. They're
well, I've
like, "What's your
mastered
name?" They're
hockey.
like,
This one's
"Wayne."
boring.
Last name? Gretzky. And they're like, "Okay, sure. That sounds fake, but whatever."
Yeah.
Anybody ever tell you you look a lot like that trumpet player? He's like, "Yeah, I've heard that a lot. Never met him."
I don't know what he's doing. He's like Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
They meet up
You're
every
my
now and
Hawk's
then.
dad.
Like, he did a great job.
He did a great job.
Really good.
Everybody go listen to Birdland by Maynard Ferguson, and then while you're there, just listen to the entire Incredibles soundtrack.
Just for like it rejuvenates you.
It
Like
does.
everything about it.
Gonna bring back
They
your spirit.
That's so true.
Mhm.
You know, it's very superhero-esque. That's how listening to that movie is what reading a comic book sounds like,
Mhm.
you know? Like, lots of brass, lots of a triumphant, like, you know,
Mhm.
I'm not a musical person, there's no way for me to really describe how well it's done because I don't know how well it's done. I just know what it makes me feel, and how it makes me feel is that I've been struck by lightning.
Mhm. Much
Like,
like a certain motel elevator in Mesquite, Nevada.
I listen to the Incredible soundtrack, and all of a sudden I've been zapped and I've lost $70,000 worth of
$70,000 worth
circuitry.
of circuitry are just zapped inside of
Fried.
you. Oh man.
I think especially the scene that captures this better than I mean the best scene in the movie, in my opinion, is where he's going through Syndrome's computer and he's realizing the
Oh, and
faces
he's
of
seeing all the
these. He's
people pop
seeing
up. Mm.
all the faces of these supers that are dead as the trumpets, "Bah, bah, bah, bah," and it's like, "Ah!" It's so good. It's so good. These trumpets have been powerful and triumphant for the entire movie, but then all of a sudden they're threatening and oppressive and growing, and there's
Mhm.
nothing he can do.
Mhm.
And then at the same time, Mrs. Incredible is having her own journey, and it's like quiet and subdued, and then with him, it's it's so good.
Mhm.
That's all I can say about it. I'm gonna stop talking about it.
I really could
Really,
do
really.
if we ever end up doing those like side things where we just pick a one really specific niche topic and just talk about it forever. Um, you can do the thing about Bala Ladeva, and I will do Wayne Bergeron. I
That's so
feel bad.
true.
Like all the musicians in this orchestra are incredible at what they do. So I kind of feel bad that I only know the name of Lil Wayne, but like, what can you do? I'm not gonna memorize the entire like
Of the
100-person
Who's,
orchestra or whoever. Like, I don't know. But anyway, they're all
yeah,
fantastic.
every single one of them knocked it out of the park.
Mhm.
He just happens to be the name of it. He'll be the stand-in for the whole group.
Yeah, it's like if you're playing
Or
first trumpet and you're that guy, like of course people know who you are.
yeah.
Yeah.
That guy
Anyway.
played with Beyonce. Amazing. Truly well done. The music enhances and captures everything about the movie and the characters,
Mhm.
and you can't say enough good things about it.
That's true.
Mhm.
I can't and I won't.
Except that we have,
So
and
let's
we're
move
moving
on.
on to another topic.
Yeah. Oh,
Exactly.
man.
Let's go.
I don't have any thoughts because all I have is the soundtrack playing in my head now. So,
Yeah.
it takes up a lot of space in there because it's so big. It's so
It's huge
powerful.
and
Yeah.
tangible.
Hmm.
It's knocking things around for sure.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Sticks
Yeah.
in your brain like peanut butter. It's like it's in there now.
Yeah.
You tell him
Is
to get out, but he's in there.
Gonna write this down real quick. One of our conclusions, Wayne Bergeron equals peanut butter. I keep saying Wayne Gretzky. I have to stop.
See, this is the problem. You say it one time as a joke, and then you're telling people in
And then
real
it's
life that Tony Hawk is Maya Hawk's dad, even though you know that's not true.
I know. It's gonna be
Wayne
really
Gretzky
embarrassing for me
famously
one
is a
day.
jazz trumpet player.
Oh, I don't even know anything about Wayne Gretzky. I don't know what team he was on. I don't know if he's dead or alive.
You know what?
Jason!
I literally just know his
Is Wayne
name.
Gretzky dead? He's alive. Thank you.
That's funny. What use is Google.com when you have Jason?
One of my favorite things about the movie, looking back as an adult, is that it's a really good superhero movie.
Hmm.
Being what it is, let's see, how do I phrase this? Um, it's a really good homage to the superhero genre
Hmm.
while still being able to stand on its own and make it its own, make a unique statement within the field. Like it clearly draws inspiration from, a bunch of different superhero sources. It feels familiar, but also like you're breaking new territory. Like this is a topic that we've never really thought about before. Like what if superheroes were illegal? What if they were banned? And they had to go into
Hmm.
like a witness protection program. What if they still continue to operate? What if they had marital problems? What if they
Yeah.
had a really difficult teenage daughter who, struggled with self-esteem and self-worth? What like, they go into these very specific topics about, like, not superheroes necessarily in general, but, like, the ramifications of having superheroes and, what that would feel like on a personal level. Struggling with feelings of acceptance of yourself, like, am I living up to my own potential?
Hmm.
It's a beautiful film.
I agree. Yeah, I like that they do get into the deeper like sociology of it. So it's not just like what if superheroes were illegal? And then it's like every like YA novel that tried to be the Hunger Games. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, like the idea isn't what if this thing was illegal? It's like what would happen to people because this thing is
Exactly.
illegal? Like that should be the point of the story. And I really think they do that really well in The Incredibles, right? You see, like, I mean, even just the beginning, you see Mr. Incredible doing what he loves. He's gonna save a guy. He's gonna stop a runaway train, whatever. All these like classic superhero things. And then the
Yeah, all
backlash
one
of
right
that,
after the other in one night.
where he's like, "Hey, I saved your life," and the guy's like, "You didn't save my life. You ruined my death."
My
This is a
death.
children's movie,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah,
thing
an
is, like,
attempted suicide in 5 minutes.
mhm, in the first 5 minutes and he's sued, he has to go into hiding. It just like starts this huge like chain reaction of people like questioning the morality of like the existence of superheroes, whereas like the people
Mhm.
who have superpowers like can't help that they have them, but now that like they don't know what to do about it in
Yeah.
society, right? And that's the interesting like crux of the movie. Even when you're a kid, you're like, oh, maybe it gives you something to think about. And even though it starts with like an attempted suicide, it's not like too dark for kids.
Right,
It's
yeah.
something that's like it's just an important thing to like set the rest of the story going.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely true. Like, and I think we watched a video essay a couple weeks ago that kind of, got into this a little bit, but it was discussing that Brad Bird has always kind of pushed the boundaries of animation in a way that, he wants to challenge the idea that they're just for kids. And this is something that you said, but it's a very adult movie.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily, that it's, like, raunchy or explicit, but, like, it has very adult themes of, like, yeah, a struggling marriage. Bob gets laid off, and he,
Mhm.
you know,
And he lies
goes through
about
the
it.
motions of he lies about it. Yeah, for months. You have a suicide, an attempted suicide, like thoughts of infidelity, all these things.
Mhm.
Sorry, I just like chugged Mountain
It's
Dew.
just this
I just
this movie's
really
too much.
emotional about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. Um, and all this is like easily digestible for kids, but the older you get, the more you understand, the more you see these layers of like,
Mhm.
oh, I get it. I, oh, that's what that means. Like, okay, those are the like consequences of what would happen here. It's like you can tell as a kid when you watch it that these things are important, but you might not necessarily understand why. And the
Mhm.
more you watch it as an adult, the more you get it, the more you see like, oh, okay, that's why this is heavy. And you have personal experience with these things, and you start to realize like I could see that it meant a lot as a kid, but now as an adult, it hurts. And
Mhm.
that's what makes it so powerful, is because it has real emotional impact now.
Right,
And
and there's layers to it, so it's not just like a kids movie where there's like something and then a conflict and then like something exciting and a resolution and there's nothing deeper than that. Like I think
mhm.
it really yeah, I think it's just respectful to its audience, whether it's kids or adults, knowing that like real life has layers like this.
Yeah.
And there's things that like you don't understand as a kid, but that are important. Like it's important that they're there. And
hmm
when you're older, like you do understand them a little bit more. And it gives it a real depth to the story that wouldn't be there if they didn't consider like yeah, the marital problems. Like what are the superheroes like when they're not being heroes and when they're just being people?
Right. And parents.
Mhm.
And that's a fun, I think that's also something that he brought up in the video essay, and we'll have to find it and, like, link it, but because it was a really beautiful essay, but, specifically, he talked about the comparison between the, like, interviews at the beginning versus the
Mhm.
rest of the movie. In the first 5 minutes, we have that, like, retro documentary style interview of all the main superheroes. We see that Elastigirl is, you know, she's at the top of her game, like, she wants to settle down, like, I don't think so, I don't think so. This is
Mhm.
what she wants to be, she's ambitious, she wants to keep, like, fighting, keep growing, whereas Bob is thinking about, like, "Okay, I maybe it would be good to settle down and, like, raise a family," and, the thing that he thought kind of idolized in his head is the thing that he's now struggling with, the mundane nature of it, the, like, simplicity, the, boring nature of it, while Helen is, like, fully embracing it. She's a very good mom, she's a very good, wife, she
Yeah,
takes
she's
good
just
care of
very
her family.
rational, she's like,
She is,
you
she
have
knows
to
exactly where
grow
they're at
up.
right now.
Yeah.
Exactly, we can't keep living in the past. This is where we are right here, right now, we have a
Mhm.
family, we have children, and they don't need superheroes right now, they need parents.
Yeah, which is
And
such a good yeah, it's an interesting
it's
twist, and I like that
it is.
it just shows, like, how, quickly superheroes become, like, a thing of the past, right? And it's obviously a weird adjustment, right? Because 'Cause they're such public figures. They're going on to these, like, interviews and, like, in full superhero garb, like, you know what I mean? Like, they're
Right, yeah.
interviewing Bob Parr, they're interviewing Mr. Incredible, and they're interviewing Elastigirl, and they're, like, super, like, well known, and people want to know what they think about these things, so it's interesting, like, a a woman in the public eye as a superhero, like, of course, is gonna be like, "Why would I quit? Like, this is what I love, right? And this is, like, something that's empowering to me, and this is whatever." Versus,
Mhm,
like, I don't know, Bob gets to have a little bit more of, like, "Maybe I'll settle down," I don't know, it's just such an interesting
mhm.
thing, like, we still see this with a lot of public figures today where, like, if you're a woman who also has a career, you have to be a career woman, you know what I mean?
That's
Which is,
true,
like,
that's a good
not a bad
point.
thing, but it's interesting that that's, like, still so much of what we see, and, like, if you see an interview with somebody, she's saying, like, "Why should I settle down?" You know?
Yeah,
"Leave the saving the world to the men?"
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
think so. It's just yeah, I don't know, that's an interesting thing, and then over the next, like, 20 years less than 20 years,
Like, yeah, 15.
because he's 15 years too late during like
15 years too late.
they're having like this kind of controversy and he's kind of trying to leave the public eye a little bit. 15 years go by and he's like jump back into it. So in 15 years or less,
hmm
he's completely unrecognizable as who he used to be as a superhero. And it seems like it's a long time, but it's also not. So you can understand
Yeah.
his like struggle in trying to find a new job where his secret identity becomes his only identity. You know what I mean?
hmm Where he still feels fulfilled
Mm-hmm.
in the same way that he feels like he's able to help people and make the world a better place, but then he becomes trapped in this
A
corporate
bureaucratic
machine,
nightmare. Yeah.
bureaucratic nightmare where he's literally described as just one of the cogs that they gotta
Mm-hmm.
mesh together, they gotta work together to make the whole system go round. And part of making the
Mm-hmm.
system work is denying individuals
Mm-hmm. That's true.
help that they need, that they
So they become
trusted.
a cheerful robot, as it were.
Yeah. It's, heartbreaking when you think about it, like, the old woman at the beginning, she said, "I'm on a fixed income."
Mm-hmm.
This is and, as a superhero, he was someone that the police trusted, that that old woman with the cat stuck in the tree trusted. She ran out right in front of his car, with complete and utter belief that he would stop, not only to avoid her on the road, but
Yeah.
to help her with
But
what she
also then
needed,
help
which was a
her. Yeah.
cat stuck in the tree. That's
Yeah.
such a silly little thing, and also a really fun superhero trope, but,
Mm-hmm.
like, he people trusted him, and he honored that trust, and for this woman to say, "You told me you would help me," and to then be told that he is not only can't follow through, but he's actually explicitly not allowed to do so,
Mm-hmm.
must be heart-wrenching for him. He
Yeah.
can't do the one thing that he's,
That he's really
always known
drawn
that he
to, that he
can
really
do.
wants to do. Yeah. And that
Yeah.
he's always been capable of. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And that's another layer of like as a kid you like don't really care about the insurance company scene. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You're like, okay, well, there's this lady who has a problem and he tries to fix the problem, then he gets in trouble. I don't know why because I'm 8 years old. But as an adult, you're like, insurance companies in the United States are
A scam.
leeches. Like, of course, like you understand it better because you're like, oh, of course they have some like insane policy that he has to find some loophole in order to help like an old lady, a little old
Yeah.
lady. So it's like you have this deeper understanding of like what it's like to be part of a vulnerable group who can't receive the help that they need. Or even if you're not, like if you're like perfectly healthy and have enough money to afford insurance,
Mhm.
it's still a hassle. And it's still inconvenient and you know in the back of your mind, even if nobody else is admitting it, like you know that it's set up that way on purpose to
On
benefit
purpose.
them and not benefit you.
Yeah. Um, that's exactly true. My dad and I were just having a conversation about this afternoon about, solar companies in
Mm-hmm.
Arizona. The government promised an incentive for every new solar factory that they like, solar, power central generator,
Oh,
whatever,
okay.
that they, like, build. Um, and so there was a company that had been well established for, like, 10 years. They've I think even longer than that, actually. I think he might have said 50, but, they've got everything figured out to a science. It's the perfect system. It's everything figured out. Electricity costs next to nothing, and these solar companies come in and they tear it down and start building like three new ones because that's what
Mm-hmm.
the government they can actually profit off of that. They can profit off the people who are paying them for their solar power and from the government who promised them an incentive to do so. And so now in Arizona, running the air conditioner in 120-degree weather costs upwards of $400 a month,
Mm-hmm.
when Arizona's the sunniest freaking place on earth. It should be free there if you have solar energy. But that's
Yeah.
not how it works
It
because
shouldn't like
the
you
solar
shouldn't be
companies.
allowed to make people pay that much for it because it's again this is like a vulnerable group
Exactly, you cannot
if they don't have
survive
this money they could die.
literally in 120-degree heat. It gets 40 degrees hotter than that inside, like you're stuck. There's nothing you can do about it. You literally need air conditioning to survive. You need to pay the money.
Mhm.
Like, it's scalping. But that's what the system is designed to do, right? So you get a
Yeah.
glimpse of that here, where you see the larger group profiting off of individuals, people that they and not only that, but like hypocrites. And that's a really fun comparison with syndrome as well. These people say that they promise that they're going to help and then turn around and they maybe help from problems that they caused in the first place.
Mm, yeah.
And that's exactly what syndrome does, except he's, wearing the disguise of a superhero. And, he is a superhero. He's got that amazing intellect he's able to use to create, like, emulate other superpowers.
Right.
Um, and that's exactly what he does to people. He generates this false trust from problems, like from saving people from problems that he himself has caused. Although he
Right.
doesn't end up
But
doing
it's
that.
of course
He's,
like his end goal is to gain people's trust
yeah, yeah,
on
exactly.
purpose. Like, right. Whereas like a lot of superheroes I feel like wouldn't necessarily consider that that's what happened, you know?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. His monologue about like you can't count on anyone, especially your heroes. And then Bob apologizes and he's like, it sucks. Like it's too late now. And
Too
throws him
late.
down a waterfall on
15
accident, which is
years too
funny.
late.
But like,
Yeah.
yeah. Am I good enough now?
Your nemesis in it. Oh,
Oh,
perfect.
brilliant. Yeah.
Launches him.
Oh, it's
And
so good.
that is how you do like a surprise villain too. Pixar like mastered the craft at one point.
Hmm.
You set Syndrome up at the beginning. This brat little kid, Incrediboy,
Hmm.
who's
And
and you can go either
incredible.
way on his, you know, validation. And Neil thinks that he, you know, is more justified than I think I do.
Hmm.
Uh, him and I, my brother and I, we've argued about it quite a bit, but it's interesting that there is that level of ambiguity, that there is not necessarily a right or wrong answer to his behavior. But anyway,
Right.
you see him just pestering this man repeatedly over and over and over again, to the point where he's like, I am exhausted. There's nothing I can do. And where Mr. Incredible has to like throw this kid down to get the bomb away from him, where he surely would have died otherwise. He lets Bomb Voyage get away to save this
Hmm.
kid's life. And it's a result of that bomb that the train track explodes, you know? Like there's this chain reaction that arguably is this kid's fault for putting himself in a dangerous situation that he had no right to be in.
Right. And he had no
And
like real awareness of it because again, he's like a kid and he's not
yeah,
seeing the larger picture of like what's really going on. He doesn't
why
have the
is why does he not want me to
sociological
help?
perspective. He just has like a little kid's perspective of like, I want to be a superhero. This guy is my hero. And he's
Yeah,
not going to say no to me because I'm just a little boy.
it's my
Nothing's going
birthday.
to happen because I'm just a little boy.
I'm just a little boy.
So it's interesting. I think you kind of touched on like two things here that have been part of the discussion, right? That it's not just like a black and white, like this is right and this is wrong, and these are heroes and these are villains, right? Where you're like, well, he was a kid. It's like, of course, it
Hmm.
was his fault, but maybe he's justified in having a little bit of bitterness because he didn't understand and he was just a kid, right? Or like
Right.
when everyone's super, no one will be, or all these kind of things where like it is a very like adult concept of like sometimes things are gray or sometimes you don't know. Like you
Hmm.
don't know
Yeah.
what's right or wrong. When you are fired from your job at the insurance company for throwing your boss through a wall, that's like, yeah, you should have been fired for that, but you also shouldn't have been fired for trying to actually help people, right?
Right.
That's
Yeah. And maybe he was a little creep, but
yeah,
like,
yeah.
maybe
And
he doesn't deserve to have every single bone in his body broken.
yeah. And then that was the other thing too, just like the completely shameless way like they see a guy getting mugged and Bob points it out. He's like, he's getting mugged, and the boss says, let's hope we don't
Let's
cover
hope we don't cover him.
like you.
The
It's so they
arrogance.
don't a lot of it's subtle in a lot of ways, the narrative of this story.
Mhm.
Like when you're a kid you don't get like bored because they're just talking so much about grown-up topics.
Yeah.
Like it fits in really nicely and it feels very real. But like that moment is like so like you're like, how could somebody behave this way? Nobody could be like that. But then of course they are, because otherwise our healthcare system wouldn't be the way that it is. And like insurance
Right.
wouldn't be $1,000 a month or
And you see Bob walk away from gripping the doorknob, and it's
he's
crunched into a
dented it.
tiny little
He's
ball, and
shaped it into
you
the form
think,
of his hand. Yeah.
"I could do that."
Yeah.
Like, we've all had that conversation. We all know those people. Sometimes maybe we even are those people without, like, acknowledging it. And you see that just, like, that rage and, like, you know exactly how
Hmm.
angry he is in that moment. And to make a good man like that angry with all these 15 years of frustration and,
Hmm.
like,
Pent up
impotence.
anger of having to hide who he is and trying to help people, but everybody else is backwards. Like, why are he has to be part of this like bureaucratic system that he doesn't agree
Yeah.
with because he has no choice.
Yeah.
And so you can see that, like, yeah, we've all been like angry enough that you're like, I could crush a doorknob. I could,
Yeah.
I could throw a man through four walls. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's that
But it
I think is
captures the
something that
injustice of that situation.
it does, and that's something that leans into kind of both aspects of this movie, where like it is very serious and very grown up, and these are like real issues that they're talking about under the guise of superhero. But it also is really awesome when you're a kid and you're like, I could do that. I'm that strong. I
Yeah.
could throw that little man. He's only little. Like
He's
that
just a
could
little
be me,
boy.
right? So it builds up also this like idea of fantasy and like supernatural abilities, right? And so it's
Right.
exciting. It keeps it exciting, even though that scene overall is like something that you definitely appreciate more as an adult than you would as a kid. And you're just like, these are
Yeah.
guys in an office, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. One thing too that I hadn't really thought about is, like, the public seems to have a really heavy reliance on the superheroes, which is interesting. Like, the police, they're, like, depending on Mr. Incredible to help set up a perimeter to catch Bon Voyage when it's like he's not really
That's
that's
like
your
not his
job.
job. Like, are you paying him?
He's doing this for
Interesting.
free. Like, yeah, he's good at it, but, like, that's literally your job.
You
That's what you're
should
gonna
be
get
able
in,
to
like.
do your own job, yeah, without having to depend
Yeah.
on a superhero who happens to swoop in at the last second.
Yeah, yeah, and, that dependence that, Incrediboy has on him as well, only to
Yeah.
be torn down,
It's such a
like, there shouldn't
ridiculous
there
name
shouldn't
too. Like he has no relation to this
Incrediboy.
man. He just names himself
No.
Incrediboy because he admires him
You
so
are
much.
not affiliated with me. Like, it's this heavy dependence on the superheroes that got them into this problem in the first place. They
Mhm.
don't have any other system set up. It's the people just like, "Oh, the superheroes will take care of it." And then it's interesting because, again, it is not black and white because at the end of the movie, it is the superheroes who have to take care of it. They
Yeah.
don't have any systems in place for something like this. So it's an interesting thing because, again, it is not black and white. There is no right or wrong answer to it. Like, are superheroes good? Are they bad? That Brad Bird is saying specifically, he's like, it's not necessarily that easy.
Mhm.
It's not one or the other. It may be both, maybe neither. It's, and there is no answer. It's just something you have to think about. He's like, he's starting a conversation.
Mhm.
Like, you can get ingrained in one pattern of thought about it, but, like, that doesn't necessarily mean that yours is the right one. Like, I might be wrong in how I think about, Buddy and his progression to villain, the
Right.
events that sparked it, but, like, it's interesting to hear other people's thoughts about it and how, like, Neil perceives it and, ABC. Oh, I remember because I was talking about how they do twist villains,
Mhm. Oh yeah.
and
That was the beginning
way
of
back,
that sentence. Yeah.
like, a really long time ago. Um, but just, like, his introduction, you think he's just gonna be this little nobody kid
No boy.
who's, like, no boy he's a no boy kid. But, eh, to have him come back later, it's like you've forgotten about him as much as Mr. Incredible did in
Mhm.
that moment. He never gave him another thought after that moment until now. Now that he's an actual threat. And it's fascinating
Mhm. Now you respect me
because
because
you're
I'm a
like,
threat.
"Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, he's scary now." And to get just, like, little tiny hints about him, throughout the beginning half of the movie where he's talking to Mirage behind the lava wall, or like he's like, "Interesting, you should invite him to dinner," and like all this stuff where you know that there's someone else, someone running the bigger picture, but you don't know who exactly. And then when it's
Mhm.
revealed, it makes so much sense. And it's sorry, I keep burping.
Gross.
I'm trying to talk. Just all the pieces fall together and it makes so much sense with the characters, with the story, with his revenge arc, this insanity going on in his head. Like it makes a lot of sense. And it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
That's true. And I had something that I think I was gonna say, but no, I'm not sure. Oh yeah, no, I remember. Um, how like he's revealed as the villain, and it makes so much sense that it would be this like they this little kid that like
The snow
ended
boy.
up in the, the wrong place at the wrong time,
Hmm.
and it ruined his life, right? Because he's like, you should never meet your heroes. And it also kind of ruined Mr. Incredible's life, because this is kind of the inciting moment where he starts not getting a lot of credibility as a superhero. People are like, maybe we shouldn't be relying on these people so much because things go wrong. Like, if we can't trust Mr.
Oh,
Incredible, then Bon Voyage is going to get away and the whole train thing is going to explode and whatever, right? So they
yeah.
kind of it's the same moment for both of them, but Bob just doesn't realize it until Syndrome comes back and tells him that that's what happened. And it's just
Brilliant.
like
Yeah.
the bagel guy.
It's the lick spot. You made me who I am. I
Mhm.
made you.
And it's the same thing, like Hero like doesn't realize. He's like, Spider-Man, why would you create that guy? And he's like, I don't know, like I didn't know
He's
that I did.
talking nonsense.
I didn't mean to. Like, he's crazy, right? And then he turns out to be a much bigger threat. And it's the
Yes, yes,
same
yes,
thing.
yes,
Like,
yes,
Bob
yes.
Parr has, like, maybe he doesn't put the two together, that like this little kid is the reason that I'm no longer a superhero and I have to do a like not respectable job now. Right? And then he meets him and it's
Yeah,
the same guy.
that's a really good point. I've
Mhm.
never thought about that before. I love it. I love it so much.
Also, why his name is Bomb Voyage?
Bon voyage.
It's something that's like so bad it's good, you know? Like, they
Monsieur
came up with that in the
Incroyable.
writers' room. They were like, yeah, nice. No, we got to put that in there. Little
It's
kids
a
are not going to get
mime.
it unless they speak French and English,
French.
but adults are going to love it.
Gonna go crazy, and we do still to this day.
Yeah.
This is something that it's not an original thought, but it's something that I really like and keep coming back to is the actual event versus Syndrome's memory of the event, right? You see the
Because again, he was a
comparison.
kid.
He was a kid, yeah, and he doesn't really remember perfectly what in his memory, Mr. Incredible was alone with no Bon Voyage as a threat. You know, he was that's where his attention was is uh uh um uh, I'm not coming up with the right word, but like subduing the threat, um protecting the people outside. ABC, this is where his focus is the villain right in front of him. Whereas in Syndrome's memory of the event, he was alone and he turns and walks away from him. That's not what actually happened in the memory
Oh, yeah.
or
He's
like
like,
in real
sorry, buddy,
life.
I work alone.
I work alone.
Hmm.
Yeah. Whereas in real life, he says, I work alone because this is a dangerous job and I can't risk focusing on saving you when, he's a big enough threat that that's where my focus has to be, which is exactly what happens.
Hmm.
I work alone because when I don't, other people get hurt. You get hurt. You get a bomb attached to you. The bomb gets thrown onto the train tracks. That's why I work alone. That's what this has to be. Whereas to Syndrome, it's you are not good enough to work with me.
Right.
It's two different messages, and neither one of them communicated perfectly. But that's where Mr. Incredible was versus where Syndrome was, and you can see that in the difference in the memories. And it's really cool to see that that's how he's interpreted it for all these years, and that's what's sustaining it. Is the idea that because he doesn't have superpowers, he's not good enough, and that's not where that was coming from. It's because you were a child.
Right. And you even see like Mr. Incredible. overcome that frame of mind when he has to fight the villain with his family. Right. So he's not only not working alone, he is like working with children who are his top priority.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting that even though that's a completely true and valid point the first time, he's like
Mm-hmm.
still has to overcome it and figure out how to make it work. And it also wasn't even
Yeah.
true that he never worked alone because he was always with Frozone.
Yeah, they were buddies.
Sorry, buddy, I work alone, except for this guy and
Hi,
also her.
Corzo.
Oh, and
Kicking his
sometimes
feet and giggling. Like, yeah, that's so funny.
Frozone's a
It's
really
also really
interesting
funny to me
character
that
too.
like Mr. Incredible and like no one ever talked about that. It was a complete surprise that Mr. Incredible married Elastigirl when, the burglar who was right there, he's like, "What's going on here?" Like they're flirting like there's no tomorrow on the
Yeah,
night of their wedding. And you're telling me that there weren't any rumors about that
you
flying around the
know,
city? Like
yeah,
nothing? That's a
it's so
complete
crazy.
shock. That's funny to me.
It's also funny, like, at the end when they're at like the um like track tournament and then they go into the parking lot and something's happening. Which, first of all, funniest line in the entire movie, I may be beneath you, but nothing is beneath me.
Hey.
Hilarious. But anyway, they like see what's happening and they suddenly change into their like superhero, and they put the masks on, which is
Mask
like you think nobody would notice. Oh, the Parr family with like an incredibly big bulky dad and a curvy mom and a teenage daughter and a younger son and a baby
and an infant child.
look actually really similar to the Incredibles. Like you think they're not going to notice?
It's one thing if they're all
Everyone
individuals, but they're the
notices.
family
It's
unit.
so obvious.
Yeah.
Like,
That's why they had to cut that off right there at the end, right as they're pulling their uniforms out, so no one
yeah, because
pointed
there's
and they're
no
like,
way you're going to
"Oh,
keep a secret
I knew
identity
it!"
with a family, right? That's like so
No.
obvious. But you can
Yeah.
see how they like
Which made
maybe did it when it was just Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl and Frozone, like separately, you know?
right, yeah. And on the island when they don't have any civilians like
Right.
observing them or like newspapers or phones and cameras.
Yeah.
I guess they don't maybe don't have phones, but you know what I mean. Like that's so
Yeah.
funny. That's yeah. I guess that kind of leads into the implications too of like their acceptance of themselves and each other, right?
Mhm.
Like we're not afraid if anyone does see and recognize us as a family unit. We know now what like we're capable of together and individually. We can work as a unit and we're not afraid of the consequences. That's maybe a little deep.
Maybe I've been quoting C. Wright Mills, but yeah, maybe that's too deep. A message about
The
superheroes and secret
implications.
identities might wait, hang on. It might be about personal identity. It's like that's like the number one thing that every superhero
Okay,
story
now stop me
is
if I'm getting a
ultimately
little
about.
heavy here.
Yeah. What if there was such a
um,
thing as like um having a secret identity or masking? Surely no one will relate to this. Oh man. Um
oh, was one thing real quick that I wanted to talk about, like Bob overcoming his fear of
mhm,
working as a unit is the scene, his line where he says, "I'm not strong enough," and she's like, "Is this all a big workout for you?" And he says, "I can't lose you again. I can't go through that again."
mhm.
Like, um,
And she's
has
like,
any Marvel
work
movie ever
together, you
had
don't
that
have to
level of
be.
emotional depth?
Yeah.
No, no. That line still makes me choke up every now and then because I'm like, oh my gosh, he's not emotionally strong enough. It's
Mhm,
so good. It's such a powerful line of like, he really thought they died 2 hours ago. He fully embraced their death and that he was a crumpled, like useless mess of a man, that he would
mhm.
never be able to do anything again. And now they're back and he can't risk losing them again, except he has to. And he does. He is strong enough. He's Mr. Incredible.
Yeah.
They're supers. What can happen?
Yeah. That's true. And also she says if like we work together, you don't have to be, right? So that idea of like what was his problem with Buddy was that he's like, I have to be constantly micromanaging every aspect of this scenario in order for this to work. Like, I can't work with you because you're a child and you're a liability,
Hmm.
right? Whereas now, over the course of 15-ish years, he can realize like, oh, I can like work together, and if we have a plan that we all agree on, I can trust that they do their part and I do mine.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't have to be the one that's shouldering the entire responsibility all by himself because he has a wife.
Yeah. It really is a powerful message about marriage. And that's what this has been talking about today. As we're
Two marriage experts
yeah.
here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Two doctors you
me
can
and it's you.
trust and two marriage experts.
Mm-hmm.
We've always I think one of the major things that we continue to come back to is marriage.
That's such an interesting like aspect of the plot too, right? That he like they should have so much trust in their relationship. Like they used to fight crime together and now they have three children, right? But he
Mhm.
like can't bring himself to tell her that he lost his job.
Yeah.
So then there's like this completely unnecessary thing where she's like, I know that he's hiding from something from me, but I don't know what it is. Like
Yeah. And she
maybe
thinks
it's
he's like
infidelity,
having an
right?
affair. Yeah.
Yeah. But then it just turns out that he like again, he has to be Mr. Incredible and he has to be the hero and he always has to be strong enough and good enough. So
Hmm.
when he loses his job, even though like there's an argument about whether or not that was right, or like at what point he could have turned it around and not lost his job, or like whether it was really the job that he needed, whatever. That can be like a whole conversation. But like he couldn't tell her because he wasn't strong enough. So then
Right.
it
He had
starts
to
off,
figure
it
it out
starts
on his
off this
own.
whole chain of things that like didn't have to happen. Like she didn't have to be like
Yeah.
distrustful of Mirage and have to like go behind his back and talk to Edna and whatever if they had just
If
communicated.
he had just told her.
But
Right.
he couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's
He
a good
had to
point.
hide it, and I think he liked hiding it a little bit because he's like, now I have
Hmm.
a 9 to 5 where I can do what I want to do. I can be my own boss and I can
Yeah.
pull trains, you know?
Work from home, make 25K a month. Be
Yeah,
your own boss. Um,
exactly. He
yeah, no,
starts
that's a
selling
good point where
essential
he's
oils.
he joins an MLM. He starts selling like those leggings. What's that brand called?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's an interesting aspect too when he's like finally feels fulfilled again. He's
Mhm.
doing what he loves and he's excited about the possibility of, having a purpose again. And you see that bleeds into every other aspect of his life. He's like more attentive to the kids. He does the things that they like to do and um him and Helen's relationship gets another little spark. Like it's this lovely thing where he realizes that he has so much joy for his life. He loves being a parent, he loves being
Mhm.
a father, he loves being a husband. And that only
Because
comes
he's not
after
just
he,
being held down by his like dead end bureaucratic job that he hates and everybody hates him for it.
right. He's
Yeah.
able to take care of his family, have the means to do so and enjoy doing it at the same time. And that's really powerful for him, even though he is lying to Helen. He doesn't, I think you're right. I think he doesn't mind hiding it a little bit because he's
Because it's like
finally
the good
like
old days.
the good old days where he's able to be himself
He used to
and
have a secret
embrace the best
identity.
parts about his new life.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really powerful because even though we know he's doing the wrong thing, we know he shouldn't be lying.
Hmm.
Like you get it. You're like, yeah, okay. He's happy now. He's happy for the first time in 15 years maybe because
Right.
he
Instead of
doesn't have
having
to
like his
hide.
brief moments of respite where he can like talk to his kid, now he's like, I can talk to my kid whenever.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. You must have been booking. How fast do you think you were going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good. And that's another
Yeah.
thing too that I think could have been better in the second movie, like we talked about with Jason, right? Where if they had just let it be a little bit longer, it would make more sense for there to be this like huge organization of superheroes, right? Like, how did they just appear? It doesn't make sense if
Right.
it happens right after, but if it happens a few years down the road, when they're like, well, there was
After
this
we've
thing and
like
like
begun to
superheroes were
reestablish and
illegal, but then they started being reestablished because Mr. Incredible came back and like saved this town and whatever, it would kind of
right,
make more
yeah.
sense that way. And then you would also see Bob having a stronger relationship with his family because he can do what he loves to do and he has that like a burden off of his shoulders. He can spend time with his kids and be engaged in that, like that's what's happening, right? So then in the second one, Helen goes off to be a superhero because they're becoming more and more established in society again.
Hmm.
And it makes sense for him to like be at home with his kids and helping them with their math homework
Right.
because he's had that freedom to do that instead of being stuck in his 9 to 5 job with an hour commute and whatever.
Yeah.
Like he has
Yeah,
time.
we've seen in the first one how much he enjoys being a father, and so
Yeah.
now he, like, has the freedom where he can do that. Yeah. Second one was a disappointment
Hmm.
because we've already fixed it.
Yeah,
Like, you
that's
just
true. Listen,
yeah.
if you happen to be like a movie executive or something and you're like, I want to make a sequel for this movie and I have this plan, but I'm not sure if it's good, just run it by me first and I'll fix it. I've done it with Star Wars, I've done it with The Incredibles, and I can do it for you.
Picturing one of those
One eight
lawyer
hundred call
billboards.
Saul. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's the thing. Here's what I'll say for Syndrome. He was a child when it happened. You can understand the bitterness, and at least he has motivation. He's an engineer.
Right, he's a genius,
He's a genius. Like
and he does have a good
he
origin
has enough
story.
charisma. Like he gets people on board. He has
Mhm, mhm,
plans
mhm.
and backup plans. Like he's a very thoughtful person, and you can tell that he like has a plan and he really means what he's doing. What he's doing is bad, but listen, is he just like an insurance guy who's like, well, let's hope we don't cover him instead of caring about the fact that somebody's actively visibly getting mugged outside of his office?
Mhm, mhm.
The real villain, if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times, is health insurance.
That's true. I can confirm that just right now. On camera, off camera, anything out of Ollie's mouth at any given moment is put an insurance
Disparaging
blast. Just
United
on
States health
blast.
insurance policies.
Mhm. And to be fair, maybe not even quite enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could do it more. I can
You could do
stop
it more.
talking about medical malpractice and just talk specifically about insurance. Laser focused.
And put your horse blinders on. I really like Mirage. I think she's a fascinating character.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly she has a very strong moral compass, and
Mm-hmm.
she can tell when they've crossed a line. Obviously, she had to have gone
But then
into
it's
this
like, yeah, why is
believing.
she in there in the first place?
Yeah, you have to assume that she agreed with him at some point, and then they've got like a weird like romantic relationship,
Which
which
doesn't
is
make any sense at
it.
all.
It
She is 1,000 miles out of his league.
yeah, it doesn't make sense in The Incredibles. It doesn't make sense when this happens in real life because I feel like
Yeah.
this happens to every woman I know.
Right, or you're like, him?
Excellent.
Really?
Oh, y- sh- okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm glad they captured like the accuracy of real life in this
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
animated film.
Well, and
But
here's the thing, it's like he's rich, so you're like, well, okay.
he's attracted to power.
Mm-hmm.
So am I. Okay, Mirage. Like no judgments, girl, but bestie.
No judgments
What
except
happened to
for,
her?
yeah. Huh?
Like, do you think she got off the island? Where do you think she is? Is she happy?
I hope so.
Maybe
Yeah.
she took over.
Hmm.
Maybe she did.
I don't
That's
know. I mean, I
okay.
feel
You've
like
heard
she's
it. You
very
heard it
like,
here first, folks. She took over the organization and she runs it for the betterment of humanity.
oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like she's very practically minded. Like she's a
Hey.
good business person, but I didn't know if she could
Yeah.
really like, be the villain, but that makes sense. She's gonna
Yeah.
start
She
like
like
actual insurance. She's gonna hire Bob.
because he knows the ins and outs
He knows
of
the
the
ins and
whole
outs. He knows
system.
all the loopholes. He's like, let's make our rules just the loopholes. They can benefit as many people as possible.
because they have basically unlimited funding from selling all Syndrome's inventions.
Hmm.
He has his own private island. Like,
Yeah, and he's like 30.
yeah, come on.
Because here's the thing, he might be 10 in the beginning of the movie. 15 years later,
Hmm.
he's a
Oh
young
my
man.
gosh, he's our
He's
age.
probably in his mid 20s, except not really mid because
Because
he has his own
he's
private
certainly
island.
not older than 15. His voice hasn't changed yet.
Right, right, right. Like
That's a
he's
little
still
kid.
he's little.
He's
I
definitely
would
not in
say
high school.
8 is too young, but I would say like
It's
anywhere
too
like
young.
10 to 14 probably in the beginning of the movie. Therefore, he's 25 to 30 now.
I
And
actually
that's
don't
why
like
it's
this. We
weird
got
that
to
he's
change
with
the subject.
Mirage because she's clearly an older woman,
Oh my gosh.
but it kind of
Yeah.
makes sense because he's like young and rich. Anyway,
I've done nothing with my life.
I record a I record a podcast every week for 5 listeners. And look at what Buddy's been
We're
doing this whole time. His first given Christian name, his government name is Buddy. He
buddy. No
owns a
wonder he
private
hated it.
island. I have a cooler name than that. And what am I doing?
Well, that's why. It's because you
Hmm.
weren't given enough motivation.
Oh, that's true. If I'd been bullied more as a kid, I could have really become something.
That's the moral of the story is bullying's okay.
Hmm. It builds character. And, and there's no other way to build a good character. It has to come through hardship and
Pain.
cruelty. Hmm.
Yes, exactly.
You can't just
Allison
decide to
always
be a
calls
good
it
person.
she calls it accurate social feedback.
Allison does.
Allison calls it accurate social feedback. Yeah.
She's
Where
quite funny.
she's the greatest person on the face of the earth. I was telling my mom a story about it earlier today, and she's like, "Where did you find such good friends? Or such clever friends," is what she said.
And that's the kind of bullying that builds character. From the mouth of your mother, you'll hear the most atrocious things.
Yeah, that'll cut you deep.
Yeah.
Where did you find clever friends?
Yeah, where did you find that's so funny?
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, no, Allison's the funniest person on the face of the earth. We gotta have her back on here.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think we should let her pick the movie.
Um, I don't. The only notes I've taken today are Wayne Bergeron equals peanut butter.
And what more can we say, really? I
What more?
do
Like
think that
that's.
this has been a good enough conversation, even if we haven't said everything we want to. Hopefully, it'll start a little conversation in the comments,
Ooh, yeah. Uh,
build up
what's
that
your favorite part
algorithm.
in The Incredibles? Who's your favorite character?
Hmm. And why?
I will accept nothing less than 3 full paragraphs minimum.
Hmm. Because remember, we are professors in
That
this.
is true. Hmm.
Hmm.
And doctors you can trust.
That's
Also,
true.
marriage experts. I'm
Yes.
gonna actually start a list on things that we're experts in.
Yeah. Good luck. It's gonna be a long list. Or
Well,
like how Barbie
the
has to have every job.
yeah,
That's us. Hmm.
she got nothing on us, baby.
Hmm. Made of
Our
plastic.
listeners list it's limited.
Yeah,
I've written
because
them
you've
out
written stuff
underneath it because
underneath.
yeah, because I
So
knew
if
deep
you're
down in my
listening
heart,
to this and your name isn't on that paper, stop watching.
get out of here, go.
It's not allowed. We don't have room for you. We're gonna have to white out somebody else's name to add yours, so you better be special.
Yeah, you really think I'm gonna white out name 3-6?
Yeah, just be out of your damn mind.
It's just like that Fisher Alexander video where he's deciding which Twilight characters to take on the
Oh
rocket ship, and
yeah,
he's got to just keep steadily replacing
he
characters.
like begrudgingly has to remove the cactus at some point.
But he never takes Charlie Swan off of there.
Hmm.
Never.
Never.
The cactus gets its own seat. He's the funniest person.
Yeah, I really
Anyway,
like
I was
him.
gonna say that our listeners list is limited in how many things we have, but the things we're experts in,
Oh yeah,
I,
unlimited baby.
ooh, that gets the whole second half of the page.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
We've
Said
talked about a
everything that we
lot.
needed to say.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that our dear and beloved 10 listeners feel like we missed, write a little comment down below and we
Hmm.
might read it
Maybe.
if we like you enough.
Thank you for listening.
You're welcome. See you next week.
Sounds good. So long.
I'm only saying that to you, not to people who are watching, because here's the thing that
No,
bothers me.
yeah, we said
Some
goodbye to
people
them
are like,
already.
see you, I'll see you guys in the next video. No, you won't. I'll see you in the next video because you're the one on camera. You're not seeing me. It's
You don't
just
know
such a
I'm
like
here.
it's just a common phrase that people say,
Hmm.
but every time I'm like, no, you won't. Anyway, if you're watching this,
Yeah,
you'll see us in the next one. We won't see you. We won't get it.
maybe.
It's just it's just the two of us. By Grover,
We just like to
Washington, and
hear each
Delivery.
other talk.
It's true.
Hmm.
Hmm.
That's why we went 8 months without posting anything.
Yes. We were
We're
just
just
holding
in
on to
our
it. We
own
were
little
gatekeeping.
enclosure for enrichment.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Well,
Well, bye, I
well,
guess.
bye.
Oh, I can move you. That's kind of fun. Haha, I put you on the bottom and I'm on the top now.
Boo.
It's okay, I'll put it back.
Okay.
That's so fun. I like forgot that you could just like change the gallery view. I could have been moving Jason around the
That's
screen our entire meeting last time.
oh, that would have been so fun. You know, you remember how we were just talking about how on topic we were for today?
Uh-huh. Well, it
I
was
think we can
short-lived.
we allow ourselves a little tiny distraction with emojis as a treat, as a special little
As a
treat.
treat for our anniversary.
Yeah.